Hello, back, back. Yeah. Um, yeah, I'm sure you saw what I was doing here. So this is very similar to the log file that I created in my last project, where we showed the date in the logs. I come over, you can see it's a bit different. Now we say we have a log type, which is this enumerator, this enum right here. So we give it one of these three values. So we can use these three functions to like write specialized logs. We'll write error logs, this will write warning logs, and this will write. Okay, let's undo that. There we go. Yeah. So this will write information, so just general information. If there's something I want to log, so I know that it happened, we write it. This will write warning messages. So if ever you need to warn about something like this issue that isn't um stopping, stopping as in like it's not a breaking issue. It's not something that'll hurt the execution of the program. We send that here. And then the error log would be for things that do actually break the execution of the program, like stuff that genuinely need to be taken care of where the program can't recover from the error, or it's an error where we really need to understand the root of it. So here we have our date formatting. Oh, double colon there. Then here's the case statement. We just switch between the three enumerations of the log type. And then we check for our file existence, check if our file does exist. Then does we write our log to the file, or we'll create the log file here using this function where we'll write a little header here where we'll write logs. Then afterward, all of the logs get documented. As you can see, info at 7:39:45. So we want the exact seconds right now. That's the time you can see here. And here we can see the exact date. So 2nd of, no, 6th of February 2025. And all of our logs show up. And this formatting error right here is a bit weird. Not really, but this issue right here is a bit weird. Information logs or some reason get categorized a bit differently than error logs, which is interesting. There was a different way that I did logs where I would do something. I'd rather show the dates in brackets, in square brackets, and then you'd have our log in square brackets, then I'll go 7, 45, 16, or 30. The error, and I will agree this is a little it's a little bit easier to read. I will say this is slightly more complex because we just put everything into one segment. So I think that is something that would be great to change, of formatting our log message like this. Then we format it, we say date, square bracket, um, backwards, plus, then here, I think that is a little bit better. So there's our timestamp. Warning. Okay, that's a bit of a mistake there. Okay. We run again. Yep. Okay, that's slightly better. I think we can that like that. And I think that better. So if we run again, should log now, or at least about now. Go. Fresh in. We have our timestamp. We have date. I'm just kind of playing around with the different way formatting to see which one is most appealing. To refresh. Yeah, not give me the option to read. So now it's time at date log type. Then let's add a little bit disclaimer here. This. So just put a little bit of a a message here that says logs are for that shows us how logs are in. So logs are formatted as time at date, then type message. We just do this, like info. If we got rid of our log file, then we ran again. Info logs are formatted as time and date type message. So do this. This is just the preliminary work of getting logging to work, because one thing that I learned very prevalently in my previous app that I wrote, rather my previous assignment, is that these are incredibly valuable. Having log files is an incredibly valuable thing to go for, because log files are very, very useful for catching errors or catching things that you wouldn't assume would happen. That have a lot of instances where I'll just have something that say calls a certain function, and function does not do what it's supposed to do in one specific edge case, but I don't know that edge case. Then an error is thrown, and then I'm getting an error that I can barely understand. I don't know what about. When I set up a just like this single line right here, just log dot write error, and then it'll write like there's a problem here. It simplifies everything. One thing I used to do was constantly, not constantly, but have very, very prevalent message dialogues like this, where we just show message over and over and over again to see where our program is failing. And it's very much like the printf debugging that you'd have in C, where you just dump printf everywhere until you find the point where you want to fix, or the point that you want to see. And there's also immense value in debugging. So as you can see here, I just created a breakpoint. I am planning on explaining this in depth because I think that debugging is a really important thing to know how to do. Well, let's just fix that. I think that being able to debug is insanely valuable. So here's our debug info. Here's our call stack, which basically gives us a list. If not a list, more like I like to think of it as a stack of pancakes, where the higher we go, the closer we get to the current frame. And when you take off a pancake, you take off the current frame of the stack. So when you move out of a certain function, you remove that pancake, and when you enter a function, you add that pancake top, and then you add some filling, not filling, but you add some toppings, that pancake, right? You add like little berries on top and honey, and then that's like your parameters. Where I saw an amazing example of this. But if I come into this function, as you can see, we can see our function as it was called along with the parameters that were sent to that function. We can even see our local variables, which this was something that really surprised me. Got into it. Now this is a bit in depth in terms of debugging. As you can see, there's our message, there's our log type, and if we cross there, as you can see, there's our formatted message, there's our date, and we step over that, and we should. I didn't know that would happen. Doesn't seem like we get to see the file we get to see any data on the file, but I guess that makes sense because I'm guessing it's not gonna give us the file path. So that was just me going on about debugging. It's something I think is incredibly valuable. Like when you're doing anything involving programming, or when you're coding in any language, being able to debug using a debugger like this, like on Linux, you would use something like, even on Windows, but on Linux, I would use something like GDB or your GDB because I don't use the VS Code debuggers. We do our stuff in NeoVim. So yeah, that's a bunch of Linux stuff, and yes, it's available on all other operating systems. Bit of rambling there. I will get to this as a concept and help people who would like to know how to debug understand how debugging works, how to set it up, and how to use it effectively. So there's my work on this initial backend stuff. So this is just our logging record. Now the reason why I chose record is because I don't need a constructor record. Records are much like C structs, or better yet, they're more like Rust structs in the way where like a record can control functions. A C struct is not necessarily like that. Yeah, I don't need to go into that. They're much they're much like structs in other languages. We're not compare them to Rust structs, but you don't need Rust structs are. I like using them because they just act as a structure where I can give them properties, I can give them values. Okay, those are properties. I can give them a bunch of helper functions. And then instead of having to construct them, because normally with most object classes, the string list right here, you have to go class state. I didn't have to create this, so I just have it here as a global variable for this unit, and then I say log.write error. There's no like one thing that I encountered a lot in my previous project is that I would have to do things like this. Like whenever the form activated, I'd have to go log dot create. No, log would be the logger create, and then at the end of that, I'd have to go log dot free, and that's not complicated, but it is extra stuff to do when you don't really need to do it, right? This is just more like a high level, I want to say domain, but I also want to say namespace, but neither of them explain it how I want to say it, but that's like a high level structure for these methods, and I can use them together, right? I can use these methods together, and I don't have to create a constructor. I don't have to worry about constructing it at all because there is nothing to construct here. Like there's nothing to create. It's just a structure that holds a bunch of functions for logging and checking and creating. Sorry about that. And creating a log file, writing into a log. It's not much we have to do. And records are the structure that I'm going to use deal with these types of structures, or rather these type of, I guess, solutions, because I don't have to construct them and I don't even need to assign them to variables. I believe I can just do this and cannot do that. So I thought I'd be capable of calling function without even having to have a variable that is that has the type of that record, but doesn't seem like that's the case. I'll go and look into that later, but yeah, that's the reason why I'm using records here instead of classes. It's just far better, in my opinion, right now, to use a record for things that really don't need construction and destruction because they don't store anything, they just do stuff. And you want to have them have mutually accessible method where these methods which can access this method, and they can all access each other, but then they don't need to be bound to some class. So that's the reason why I'm using records here instead of classes. And now that I've got that set up, I'm going to start working on the actual interface. I'm going to start with the login screen, the registration screen, and our about screen. But first, we need to get a database. We need to get our database going, but so far, I think we've made good progress for this short time that we've been working. So that would be it for my current progress on my app. I'll see you when I get back to some more. Thank you for watching.